I'm okay. I'm fine. Fine. What inspires you? Sometimes it's a book, sometimes it's a movie, sometimes it's a person or an event. Believe it or not, for me, it was a simulation game. The pandemic, we all know, changed our lives in 2020. For me, I dealt with it by regressing into iRacing. The professional drivers were doing it in the spring. I figured I could do it also. That first year, I had a blast driving the modifieds, legends, and cup cars. And even got to run the Indy cars on one of my favorite tracks, Belle Isle. But in 2021, that changed for me. I went from doing a lot of oval racing to doing something totally different. And that was the Mount Washington Auto Road. This private course, while not in my normal wheelhouse, was a breath of fresh air. I can now take almost any car up that sim and run it to the highest peak on the East Coast. I spent hours just trying out different cars. This was the beginning of my inspiration for going up that mountain on a motorcycle. Fast forward to 2023, we all, for the most part, have come through the pandemic. And now with the BMW GS 1150, I felt like it was my time to go up that mountain. Plus, on top of it, I've been looking to go moto camping all year, and this was my best opportunity. I left on a Friday morning in August. The bike was all packed up with camping gear, and I had an ambitious 435-mile ride ahead of me. The plan was to go north through the Poconos, eventually leading to the Catskills. From there, I would ride to southern Vermont and travel north to New Hampshire, eventually ending up near Gorham. So as I went on this trip, went over the mountain range and went through Stroudsburg, and I went on one of my most polarizing roads, and that is Route 209 in Pennsylvania. I absolutely love the scenery, but I do not like the traffic. And as you see here, I just had nothing but traffic from Stroudsburg area to Milford. Okay, so next up I was going through Port Jervis, and this is where the trip really got pretty. This is where the trip really started to make me excited for Mount Washington and the Catskills and the rest of the Northeast. Just really beautiful scenery. The mountains were getting larger. Got to go around a lot of rivers and lakes at this point. So like I said, this is where I was really starting to become happy with my decision on the trip. Even though I had a little bit of rain, even though I had some traffic on 209, I was still really happy at this point. As I was making my way through the Catskills, I was putting down miles like crazy, really enjoying the view and the scenery. I did have to stop off. I found a Catskill equivalent of a Wawa, except the prices were higher and they were price gouging on gas. But after I left there, I started on my way, continuing northeast, and that's when my only issue with the motorcycle happened. And as you can see here in the video, my turn signal lens was falling off. So after a quick stop and a quick retaping of the turn signal, I was back on my way. So as I was driving through eastern New York, I ended up near North Hoosick, New York, and what do I find? An old drive-in movie theater. And believe it or not, that's actually another interest I've picked up during the pandemic after watching the At the Drive-In documentary, which is about the Mahoning Theater and how they pivoted from first-run movies to retro. And it is one of my favorite drive-in movie theaters. That and Shankweiler's in Orfield. Two really good drive-ins. I typically go to Shankweiler's because it's closer and it has a better mix of new and old. But the Mahoning, they are great at the 35mm film, and I have already got some plans for 2024. Okay, so at this point of the trip, I did cross over into lower Vermont. And this is a big deal to me because one of the things I wanted to go to, or one of the things that I ended up just passing by, was the Arlington Inn in Arlington, Vermont. And it's a really nice bed and breakfast, but I'm not interested in the amenities. I was interested in going there because of the proprietor, Buzz Cantor, who in a previous part of his life was one of the most, and he actually still is one of the most prolific vintage motorcycle riders and supporters. He has done the Cannonball a few times. He's raced at New Smyrna, doing vintage racings at the Oval there. He actually was the editor-in-chief at American Iron magazine, and he's one of those motorcyclists that, you know, I'd really like to meet one day. With this trip, I was able to go through Arlington, and the original plan on the way back was stop in Peru, Vermont to camp overnight, and then go to, I couldn't really afford their rates, but I wanted to go to at least breakfast, and unfortunately, you'll see later on what happened and what conspired to stop me from stopping by and actually getting a meal, though it is still on my bucket list of places to go. The summer of 2023 was not a good one for Vermont. They experienced record flooding, and in this video you're going to see some of the devastation that was seen. In southern Vermont, it was bad, but I've seen video of the capital of Vermont up north, and that was really, really bad compared to what I was seeing down here. And as this video progresses, you're going to see some of the way the roads have been repaired. I will say this, the people of Vermont had rallied, and they've been doing an excellent job of rebuilding their roads, rebuilding their towns, and rebuilding their lives, and they should all be commended for that. So at this point of the trip, I was really starting to see more of the devastation. I think at one point I did have to stop and turn around because the road, even though it was a month and a half, was still washed out. This was not one of those roads. This was a road, I'm not sure if it was closed or not. I was following the driver in front of me on purpose for a very good reason, but I'm glad I followed him. I ended up seeing really beautiful scenery. The road was okay. They repaved most of it. They're doing their hardest up there to take care of this. And, you know, if the roads were bad, I was just going to turn around and try to figure something else out from there. And unfortunately, maybe take a highway, but I was very lucky and I didn't have to do that. So I rode this all out. I rode that river road pretty far out, and I was very happy with the results. After that, I started to make my way closer and closer to New Hampshire, and the next hour or two after this, I crossed over to New Hampshire and continued my way up north. It was a long day at this point. I had been traveling for hundreds of miles. At this point, I was headed northeast toward Gorham, toward Bethlehem, New Hampshire, which is where my campground was. And sun was getting real low. It was getting a little chillier. And I was just putting down the miles. Now, before I did go to my campground, I ended up going to Dollar General's. And I'll say this. When it comes to riding in rural areas, Dollar Generals are a lifesaver. On my Lakemount to Knoebels trip, I stopped by one to deal with overheating, like me personally overheating. On this one, I went there to pick up some supplies that I actually didn't need. I wanted to get a fire starter and stuff like that. But unfortunately, as you'll see in the future, you'll see what happened and how I had to change plans for the second half of the trip. The very next morning, made it through night one. Rain, got hit with rain pretty good. So tent held up really well for what happened. We had some heavy downpours a couple times. A little cooler than I thought this weekend, so I might have to go get another sweatshirt. But for the most part, pretty good. Gotta make some changes today. Unfortunately, Mount Washington is not open till 1:30, so I gotta find stuff to do this morning. And don't know if that's going for a ride, don't know if that's just relaxing. Yeah, one of the reasons why I was concerned. These vents. Somebody I watched on YouTube, one of the camping guys, he condemned the rainfly just for that. And it does look like it's a little wet, but should dry out. But yeah, nice little spot. I'm actually gonna go walk down, get a shower if I can. There might be a line now. So, all right. This is my update for tonight. I basically just had cold pizza for dinner. I had some in my bag. I was supposed to eat it for lunch yesterday, and I didn't do that. So, yeah, that was my lunch. So I'll get up, go around. Not the best camping today, but I mean, I'm still here. Tent stood up. So maybe I'll go get a shower. See what else I can do today. Next time on Scott's Moto Adventures. Wish me luck, everyone. So here we go, and we are hitting rain. Go! I'm way down. I'm soaking wet. Frog's doing great though.